All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Be More podcast. I am Brittany.
I'm Maria, and I don't even know what today is. I don't even know what we're going to talk about.
Welcome to Maria during tax season, everybody.
Yes, I just started tax season. Also shout out to like everyone that's like been checking up on me already, including Brittany this morning.
I was like, I literally, it's so funny. It's so funny because I was like, oh crap. I was like, is she going to be okay for this?
I will be okay. It's just my body's adjusting. You know, it's
For like
a new
longer
routine.
hours.
I only have this routine for like 3 or 4 months, 3.5 months. So my
It,
body's just adjusting. I am very
it's so
tired.
funny.
You can probably tell in my voice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny because I was talking about you yesterday.
That's nice.
Because
Please tell.
I was talking to somebody who used to work as an administrative assistant for like a
Mm,
tax accounting firm.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and she was like talking about how like this time of year is stressful and how like how stressful it is to work for accountants because accountants are very meticulous in like number crunching and like
Yeah.
very specific.
We're
So she would
we're
always
very
worry about like
like, please do
the
this
wrong
one
number or
way.
whatever.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
yeah, and she was like only an assistant, so she was like always worried about like messing something up or like she said it was like a really high stress environment. And I was like, oh yeah, I was like I have a friend who's in like in the tax world. I was like, yeah,
Kinda. Yeah,
she's
kinda.
stressed out during the time of year too.
And
Um,
like and we don't mean it like for admins, like it's just because we're cranking
oh
out so many
no,
jobs. Like, you know,
it's yeah, it's like that work.
yeah, it's not line of work because
There's that the
the rest of the year we're
lineation
just like
between like
whatever.
being the person you have to be in a high stress situation where it's like super results oriented and being your actual self.
Yeah, yeah. So,
There's a
um
difference.
yeah. So yeah, thanks to
That's great.
all my friends that have been reaching out. Though I still do have friends that don't understand, even though this is my sixth busy season. That like I don't have time.
I mean,
And I'm just like, come on, guys. Like this is the sixth one. Like this is your sixth cycle of this.
yeah. And it's like how do you not it's not like it's some strange it's not like tax season or like a tax position or like account like taxes isn't something that everyone knows, right? Like there are three things that are guaranteed in our life. Like we're born, we pay taxes, we die. So like everyone knows that taxes is a thing, and we know that it's a situation where like people who work in that field have a lot of work to do during a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it shouldn't be this distant thing that's so far away that's understandable,
Unimaginable. Yeah. Um
right? Like it's like hello, it's a high
and
stress situation. Anybody who would ever worked or ever like who's ever worked in a high stress situation where you know you have deadlines to meet and you know they're which is like every job ever.
mhm.
There's some ability to be able to relate to it.
Yeah, but um
You would think, I should say.
one one would think, but I was talking to I guess it's just an episode of me just ranting about busy season. Um I was talking to I don't remember who I was talking to, one of my friends, and um she's like, "Oh, you like free next week?" I was like, "I'm sorry. Do you know what time of the year it is? Like I have to work Saturday and then we film the podcast Sunday. Like this is a tight schedule. Like if I'm free, you're coming
Yeah,
over. I'm not going anywhere."
right. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to. So scheduling is a very hard. It's so funny that we're talking about this right now.
Mhm.
Especially because like Maria knows how ridiculous my schedule is all the time. But I'm reading a very interesting book about accountability,
Do
and one of the things that it like talks about is like what we give our time to and like having people that are like in the accountability circle and like can be understanding and like can support like what you're doing versus um like having to be in a situation where people don't necessarily understand and they like give you a lot of grief for not being like whatever, you know, whatever they expect you to be.
mm,
And one of the parts that I'm reading right now in the book is talking about like when you figure establishing like your purpose, your mission and your values and how like when you when you do all of that, it kind of like creates a good place for you to not have to work. Like, because people have stuff to say all the time, right?
mhm,
If you're too busy or if you're not important, like if you're too busy or you're focused on something, like people feel some type of way,
mhm,
right? And it's like usually never about your lack of love for them. It's
mhm,
always about your focus on like what you have to do for yourself, right? And like sometimes it's like responsibilities that are bestowed upon you because of the work that you do.
mhm,
And
mhm.
like it's a really uncomfortable line to walk. because sometimes you have to make those sacrifices to do the things that you have to do, and it might mean that you're sacrificing being able to spend time with people, like be there with people, but that doesn't mean that like you love them any less,
Yeah, and
you know, or like you care less about your relationship with them. It's just very complicated.
and as like someone with like quality time as like their number one like love
Yeah,
language,
that book's on my that's my next book,
your
the
love
5 love languages.
the love languages.
Yeah, that's the next book I'm reading after I finish my accountability book.
Yeah, as someone that has quality time as their number one love language, it's kind of hard sometimes to differentiate the two. Like,
Yeah, it is.
and um it's just I don't know where I'm going with this now. My brain just blanked. It's very hard. Because like
It's so funny. No, no, go ahead. Do you not have do you need a second to formulate your thought before?
yeah, you go ahead first.
Okay. Guys, this is the kind of episode it's going to be, but it's cool. I had stuff that I wanted to tell you about, but we could always get to it later.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I sometimes don't realize how. Okay, let's go back to that. Like, I had a big realization, especially in my like relationship with Dan. When you live with somebody and you share a life with somebody, like you start to the best thing that they can do for you is call you on your crap, right? Like literally like accountability to like an extent. And there's a difference. There's a difference between like accountability in terms of like guilting somebody, or the three things that we like to talk about that create a lot of grief for people, like shame,
Yeah.
guilting, and disappointing people. When you say like I'm holding you accountable to stuff, or like you set really pressured expectations on people, there's a difference between that and like actually being there to support somebody being their best person and holding them accountable. And a couple of weeks ago, so I am somebody who works from home, right? Who like I definitely have a high stress person that like that representative who deals with life and is like, okay, this is my super type A personality. This is me having to get stuff done. This is like my business person. This is business Brit. And then there's like home Brit, like loving, nurturing, like, I love you. Like, that's like more me, right? But like, I sometimes don't realize when I'm which one I am
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
in the moment.
Yeah.
And like Dan will like I'll be doing something and Dan will come over and be really lovey and I'll be ice cold to him. And it's not because I don't want to give back in that moment. It's just because like my brain is doing, you know what I mean? It's like a switch you have to flip because it's very situational. And like he called me on that and I was like, oh my God, like I'm not keeping awareness on myself to realize like, and it's hard when you work at home because like your worlds collide, but like I have to keep better tabs on myself to not do that. Like
Yeah.
to not it's a hard thing to do, but it's one of those places where you have to first of all have the awareness to do it and like realize that you have like those parts of your whole self, and then like actually addressing that and like talking about it with people, and like it's not comfortable. Like I felt terrible. I was like, oh my God, you're being like this is not the Brittany that Dan signed up for. Well, now we work together anyway, so he sees it in either way.
Oh, so you guys work together.
Like it's yeah. So it's like it's an interesting place to be. It's like this like paradigms of like the versions of who you have to be based on the situations you are, and like trying to navigate, you know what I mean? Like being, and like right now you see that, right? And like you're in super work mode right now.
Yeah,
right?
I
And
can
it's like hard
barely.
enough for you to have the bandwidth to like move outside of that.
Yeah, I can barely keep a thought in my head. Like, like
Yeah.
it's just like everything's just so fleeting because I'm just go right now. But no, it's a juggling act, and like I said in the beginning, like my body just has to get used to this. Like it's literally the first week of bid season. Like I'm not acclimated to anything yet, and it's funny because last bid season we started this podcast in the middle of my bid season. Like we started in February. Our 1 year is coming in like 2 years. 2 years, 2 weeks. Jesus. So, like once I get going, like I'll be fine. But for right now, I'm just super tired, and it is very hard for me to switch back and forth between just personal and just like work life right now, because
Yeah.
everything is coming in work wise, like client work and stuff. So it's like my brain's just like go go go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. Like anytime that um this was a big thing I think that it took people a long time to realize with COVID is like
Mm.
anything that changes your routine disrupts your whole being
Mm-hmm.
and is exhausting. And like we talk a lot about, it's not a terrible thing that we live, like one of the not bad things about our society is that we can be very regimented in our routine, because like sometimes we need that, or like in my personality, like I sometimes really need that. But then something changes in that, and it's like earth shattering. It's like exhausting for your body. It's something for your brain. Like your brain has to shift. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's exhausting, and it takes time to like get, like all things. It takes time to get used to, but it's hard to make that like transition.
I literally had a thought and then it went away. This is gonna be me this whole episode. What the hell were you just saying? Like this is this is literally me in my brain. I was like, what the hell did you just say 2 seconds ago? Um, oh my god, wait, no, literally, I had something to say and then it went away.
I'm so
Damn
sorry.
it.
I'm so sorry. Dude, I have to give you like focus gummies now so that you can start to focus better, because I feel bad for your poor brain.
Routine. Oh, this is I got it.
Good.
um,
For it.
so when I was in therapy, my therapist was like, you need a routine. Because like apparently I don't have a routine outside of busy season, and that's what causes my I don't know, spiraling, because I just don't have like a all right, from 10 to 6 I obviously have work, and then what? Like it's the
Yeah.
what after. So for me, like, because busy season is so my schedule is so tight that I plan everything out by hour.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and that gives me a sense of not just routine, but also just a sense of like mental stability.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like my closest friends know, like once it's busy season, like I'm pretty mentally stable, which is weird because like it's so high stress professionally, but then personally I just am so mentally stable, probably because I have a routine and I have
Mm-hmm.
every hour accounted for. Um, so again, I I think having a routine is great, and I think as humans we are very like routine based people and just beings, I guess. So yeah, I mean it's just finding that routine right now, which is why I'm so
Mm-hmm.
tired.
Yeah. But you hit the nail on the head, right? It's like it's so much of it is like your mental capacity,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So I used to find that was one of the reasons why I was just talking to somebody else that was talking about this experience, where apparently now it's even more common. I didn't know it was a thing, but apparently I went through it and didn't really know until you look back and
Hmm.
you're like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Um, After I was talking to a girl who was talking about a friend that she had who had graduated from college and had like this massive depression afterwards. And it
Mm.
was, she called it something. It was like she got diagnosed as having something that's
Oh
very
really?
common in like young adults that after they leave college, because you go from such like a regimented and routine based life to like, well, now what the hell do I do? And it's like a
Yeah.
shock to your everything.
Which
um
is why transitioning from college to adulting is so hard for a lot of people. I had a very difficult
yeah,
time doing
and it's
that. It
not
took
well
me
guided or supported. It's just like, okay,
no,
bye.
because again, like you were about to say or you were saying, like we're such in a school system still that you
Yeah, you are,
know
you're
every
something else has a control over you.
yeah,
And
and now it's
when you
like
work a
your
job,
control.
something else has control over you too, but you have a lot more, I guess you have a lot more say, and then you have a lot more responsibility on top of it, which
Yeah,
sucks.
because once so for example like school, like all right, you go to school from whatever it is now, like 7 to 2 or something, whatever it is, and then you have homework, so that's a few hours afterwards. But when you go to work, it's like all right, here's your 9 to 5 for
Yeah.
most people, right?
And usually you
Traditionally, and
have,
then that's it.
like, going even further, you usually have some type of after school, like
Mm-hmm.
after, like an extracurricular that you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
or you have a community of people you're going to, right? Like you have like friends, or you have like some type of activity that there's not nothing, right? Or like you have a parent. Then this is not to say this is for everybody, because I know this isn't the situation for all kids, but you
Mm-hmm.
have some other like force that is like driving what you're going to be doing, right? Which is why like
Mm-hmm.
what we all fight about with our parents, like I don't want to, like all that stuff, like they still do, and there's still some sense of routine there, and there's some sense of not having to, there's some sense of dependence, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
not having to be the only thing that makes the decision on what you're doing with your time, and
Right,
like
and then
also not going through like a quarter century life
quarter
crisis, because like you
quarter
don't
life
know.
crisis.
Yeah, sorry. A quarter century life crisis, because you're like, well, what am I doing with my life now? Like we put so much on people when they first get out of school,
Mm-hmm.
and talking about this, and it was like so funny because in my head I was like, oh, that's what I did. Like that was what was going on with me. I was like, this all
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. And it's just so funny because we go through, like, we can get stuck in that and not even know that we get stuck in it, and like just feel
Mm-hmm.
like we're trying to do stuff to make us happy, but like it's not the same. Or like we, it's like the need for, and then like that's what happened to me. Like I lost a little bit of routine. I was also like trying to launch a business by myself and like dealing with a whole lot of other crap.
Yeah, no big deal.
But you get so lost in it, and then you feel almost stuck in it, and then it's like like again, it's like the sunken place, and you get stuck in it. You don't really know what to do next because there's no outside greater force giving you any type of like definitive, like, go do this. This is what you have to do. You have to literally make those decisions on your own, and it's not something that we are taught how to do. It's such bull, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
let's go to college, let's get a higher education, let's spend a lot of money that we don't have, let's get a degree that's a piece of paper that's not going to guarantee us anything for the rest of our lives, and then let's just push you out the door and be like, all right, go figure it out. And there are so many programs that are, I think, being in place right now that are trying to help with that transition,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like not enough. And I like, it's just not enough. It honestly, I don't know why this came to my mind, but like if you think about like the prison system, right?
Oh, okay. We went
Again,
there.
which is a system that's broken, and we've had conversations about this. But like, like there are those halfway houses after that like try to acclimate you, that try to get you in, and those are like, honestly, when anytime you're dealing with anything, like those
Mm-hmm.
systems are based on routine. Addiction, like
Mm-hmm.
recovery, is based on routine. Like everything's based on routine because, like you said, you need something to stabilize your brain to focus on. And it's like, okay, well, what we go from like having the stability in being in school and like having that level of dependency to not knowing how to oversee that ourselves. And it's just, and then again, like I said, you put financial responsibility on all of us, which is a fucking stressor.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse my French. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to take on. And then like the other side of it is like you end up going into that routine and you get so stuck in your routine that like you lose yourself, because we need that balance of like, I have a routine, but okay, I need some time away. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, but like a 2 week vacation, if you're lucky enough to get that for good behavior from your job, is not enough time.
Mm.
48 hours on a weekend is not enough time. Like you're not completely relieving yourself of the mental stresses that you were dealing with. It's just not, and most people are taking on different stresses, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if being in a family or having some other responsibility they have to like that they
Mm-hmm.
are responsible to, right?
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
it's just, it's it may, this is why people believe, like some people question, like, is life on hell, like is life on earth really us going through hell, like is that really what it is?
Like,
Because
it's
we put
hell
ourselves
here.
in these trivial, and like just thinking about it like sounds like a horror, like that's Saw, right? Like that's the real life of Saw. Like you don't have to involve chains and like bloody massacres for us to get tortured. Like we torture ourselves.
Yeah. And like, I mean, all I can think of is capitalism.
I
Like,
know.
I don't know what to tell you.
I know there is a reason, but it's like we have to start
Hmm.
waking up to seeing it more,
I think we
you
just
know.
have to, yeah, it's just people trying to um deal with their mental health better is what the solution is.
Always. And it's like this is like the systems in place that we deal with are the ones that create that strife, and
Hmm.
then we turn to other things because we feel like we can't escape them, which is where, not good choices come from. I just had a conversation this week with a 13-year-old who asked me like, why can people buy guns, like straight up, like in the middle of her, like this is
I love I
middle of her
love
session.
when
She
like
was literally like, why can people buy guns?
I
And I
love
was
when
like, all right,
children
well,
get
we're gonna have this conversation.
super not aware, what is it? Curious
Oh
about
yeah. Oh,
the
and then
world.
think of all the things that they have exposure to,
Yeah, now
right?
with all the
Like,
internet and social media and like
and
all
then
that
we went
stuff.
down this whole conversation about, like, and it wasn't so much like me answer, because I don't have all the answers. It wasn't so much like me answering her questions. I just asked her more questions because I wanted her to like
Yeah.
figure out what her opinion was on all of it.
Hmm.
And like it ended up being like a conversation that lasted for like a little bit of time, but like that's the kind of stuff that needs to be happening.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
the that's how, the only way that you can oversee like fear in any way, shape, or form, anything that we're afraid of when it comes to like what we're dealing with in our society, like is by actually talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, how else are we gonna understand each other,
Right.
right?
And it wasn't a comfortable conversation for me. I was like super scared. And like I ended up talking about do you remember when we were in high school? It was either 8th grade or our freshman year of high school where we found out that somebody who we had gone to school with had killed himself, right?
Rest in peace.
And he used a gun, and now we got access to it. Like I ended up talking about that with her, and like it was
Yeah.
like a full on, not super comfortable conversation, but um,
It
something
was
that just
sophomore year. Sorry, I just remembered.
was it sophomore year.
It was sophomore year.
It was something that needed to happen. It was something that she needed in that moment,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's okay. But it's like that's what we needed to have. Those are the conversations that we needed to be having and having more of, even after like our 20s, right? Or
yeah.
in our 20s. Why are there not like 20-year-old support groups?
I'm sure there are. Or people, you know what the 20-year-olds do? They start podcasts like us.
That's very true. That is so. So, guys, if you want some, I'm honestly, as you were saying that, like it's very relevant to why we're doing what we're doing now and bringing people in to talk about all of this stuff. So, if you are in need, no, not even in need, like honestly,
No,
if you just want more people to talk to you about like the
this.
true stuff that we don't want to talk about, but like we need to talk about more, like come talk to us. You're so
Yeah.
right.
If you,
We
yeah,
start
if you,
podcasts. That's why there's so many podcasts.
not that we want to treat this as a therapy session, but
No, I mean, honestly, what is a therapy session?
um, to, I don't know, help out with your mental state. You
Yeah,
know,
that's what
like
you
just
do in
a,
therapy.
yeah, yeah. No,
You're
you're
like,
right.
I mean,
I
most
mean, there's
people,
obviously layers to that, guys.
yeah,
Like, I'm
right. Like,
not
not
like
everybody's
boiling.
gonna feel comfortable in talking about stuff the way we
We're
do.
not
Like, some
boiling
people
down
have to
therapy
manage
to just
stuff.
talking to someone. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, other people have to manage, and like, we are not professionals in that realm, any way, shape, or form, to give people
No,
like
we sought out the
advice
professional form.
on that, right? Like that's like for coping mechanisms and all that stuff. We just talk about our experiences and the stuff that we've gone through and like what's worked for us or hasn't worked for us. Speaking of things that work for us and coping with our emotions, this is another thing that I was thinking about you with
Mm,
yesterday.
mm,
So I took a drive up to our wedding venue yesterday,
mm. Nice.
and on my way home was like blasting Mayday Parade, of course. Anybody who doesn't know who Mayday Parade is, they are a band. 90s kids, like,
Uh-huh. Everyone from like Jersey has seen everyone in the pop punk scene has seen them at least once in Starland Ballroom.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
all
if
I'm
not
gonna
multiple
say.
times, like Maria and I, who used to go every year when they would come. But I was listening to it, and it was so funny because I was thinking to myself, like, like I remember being a kid and I remember being so stoked about being in my car and like rolling down the windows and blasting the music really loud.
Yep.
And like, to be completely honest, the music that I blasted really loud was that. Like it was Mayday Parade. It was like all
Mm-hmm.
alternative rock.
Yep.
Unless it was like the summer and like I had friends in the car and like I was listening to pop music, but it was usually that when I was by myself
Nah.
and all in my feels. And
Dude,
driving home,
I used to blast like All Time Low, Mayday Parade,
yeah.
oh my god, what is their name? A Day to Remember.
Oh,
It's
good
like
lord, I haven't heard that.
screamo alternative rock. But it's funny that you said all that because yesterday I was blasting and this is also what I used to listen to, but not with other people just because I don't even know why. I was blasting 90s and early 2000s hip hop and R&B.
Yes.
Like I'm talking like TLC,
Oh
Ashanti,
my
like
god,
Ja
yep.
Rule, like,
Oh my
and like
goodness.
that's me. It's so funny because I made a whole playlist yesterday because I needed that like easy access to all the really good songs I used to listen to.
Oh yeah.
But that's just me growing up in Newark. That's what
No,
came
like
out.
sometimes you need that.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
sometimes
And
I'm
like
like, oh, I need to listen to Mariah Carey's original 3 albums right now. Like you
yes,
just
and not like this new shit. And it's
right.
also like it's funny because I used to like make fun of my parents. I was like, why are you listening to like the 80s stuff? This is like the 2000s, and now we're just turning into our parents.
Honestly, there are still. I love my father and my mom. My mother was always the one who listened to a lot more like newer music than my dad did. My dad, I don't think, knows half the music that plays on the radio now,
Yeah, same here.
and I love him for it because whenever
Mhm.
we'd be in the car, whenever he put the radio on, it was always like the old like oldies
Oh
rock.
yeah, it's like not Z100. It's like the pop.
106.7
Yes, that's what it
FM.
is. I was like, what is the like?
And like
It was
101 point guys, I can go off on all of the like oldies radio stations
yeah,
because
because that's what my dad listens to too.
right, like
I'm
that's
like,
what I
can you
remember
just put
being
on
on in the
something
car when you
else?
would watch them like adjust the radio. Um, so I still have like a place in my heart for the Four Seasons, for Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. So I get in like, and Dan also, it doesn't help that
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, I can't even think of the song. It's out of my brain. I also sing like one of the songs to my cat all the time. Don't judge me.
That's fine.
And I replace her name in it too. But the I so you know the song "I Love You, Pretty Baby."
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, so I would sing. It's like, "Who loves you, pretty baby?"
Yes, yes. What a
Okay, so I
classic.
sing that song to Maj, but I replace it and I say, "Who loves you, pretty Maji?" So like that's a thing that I do, guys. I'm obsessed with my pets. Don't judge me.
Who isn't when they have pets?
Right, honestly. So like I have a special place in my heart for the Four Seasons. So every once in a while I'll just need to listen to them. Like it is like music is a mood. It's a beautiful thing. But yesterday, so as I'm in the car, you'll appreciate this. As I'm in the car on the highway, blasting Mayday Parade, and I'm just like driving and singing, and like you know how like you know the car, it's loud in the car, like you know other people can hear your music.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself like, why I like, of course, my like ego brain starts to get all like worried about stuff. And I'm like, oh my god, like other people are gonna hear my music and like
I hate.
like what
I
is
know. I
wrong
do
with
that
this
all the
person?
time.
And like, mind you, it doesn't help that I also have to think of it on another level because I have like the logos for my business on the outside of my car.
Oh,
So like when I'm driving in a rural area, I can't do that anymore. Like I can't turn my windows down and blast my music because I don't think it's. Oh, I hate saying this. Like it just doesn't seem come off professional. You know what I mean? So I
yeah.
hate that
Well,
that's a thing, but it's
yeah.
like like a real life, guys. I hate that I just said that, but so and I hate that we have to think about that, right? Like
Yeah, why does it matter that I'm blasting for me, right? Like I blast K-pop in my car too. I'm like, why does it matter that someone's gonna
I
listen to my music and it's
it's so
Korean
frustrating.
pop?
Like I can it's not sitting well in my stomach right now, but again, something that needs to be said. So yeah, so I'm like thinking about all of that while I'm in the car, and then I'm like, I like I make fun of like people that I no okay not I make fun of people who blast like who are obnoxious. Like, have you ever been like down the shore when people have like all their windows open and
And they're
like
like
they're blasting like
blasting
unnecessary music in the
like
car like by
EDM.
themselves and like
I love
everybody all over the street can hear them?
I love when like cars blast EDM. I'm like, you're in a
That
car.
okay, perfect example, right? So like that's the kind of like guys don't make fun of people and like I'm sorry, but this is like the
But this is why we get self-conscious because
right because
we blast our music and we're just
we
like
make
we
fun
don't
of those
want
people
yeah.
and it's like so I'm like sitting in the car I'm like I was like oh god like but at the same time I'm like this is like a moment like this is a cathartic moment for me like because I'm obsessed with like drum beats which is why I love rock music so like that's like my pulse like I feel that stuff so like it's such a good place to be in so
Hmm.
I'm like worrying about I'm like oh my god like you're almost 30 like are you going to be blasting music like this for like the rest of your life and like what does that say about
Absolutely.
you like and it was so terrible it was such a terrible like it went from such a good place and I was like no Brittany I was like you can't think about it like this but it's a stupid thing that we do like
Yeah.
worrying about the music we play and it's just like
Well, because there's a lot of judgment in
uh,
the airspace. Because like, and it sucks because like online, like if you're a basically if you're a teenage girl, you can't do shit without any any
right
reparee.
and
You
that's
know,
part of the
like
problem right we relate that to teenagers and immaturity so I'm like oh my god does this make me look immature so
right. And I'm just like, but I'm blasting music. Blast whatever music you want to. Who gives a shit? You know, like I
you're
mean,
so right
obviously,
though about the female thing though
oh yeah, it's always teenage girls, which I always now that I'm older in hindsight, I'm like I feel bad because anything say like One Direction, right? Like and like BTS, right? The boy bands. Any boy band that comes out, it's usually attributed to like teenage girl fans and like the over excessive like reactions that they get to them. And
hmm.
like I like those bands, but like why does it in the back of my mind say like, oh, that's teenage shit like now?
Yeah
Like that's stupid. Like it's music. Why does it matter? And
yeah
also, who cares if their fan base is teenage girls? So is the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and no one had a
yeah
problem.
I know but like we were living in that so no one cared and
Yeah,
it wasn't even Backstreet Boys and NSYNC like NSYNC like go back further like
go back. Boys to Men,
and like New Kids
uh,
on the Block
New Kids in the Block. Yeah,
it
even
was
further
always
back, the Beatles. Like let's keep going. Like
right like honestly truth but like there was always it's frustrating how there's a sense of like ageism attached to music
yeah, like what is
like if you
because like
or like and like social economic like standing like if you
yeah,
listen to jazz and classical music you're a fancy person and like you are good, like it's so actually I'm just thinking about this for like the first time right now, and like if you listen to like
classical
punk rock
music.
or like and like
Yeah,
that used to be your
orchestra music. Yeah.
and like that was like you're trash. Like if you do that, you're trashy. Or like if you listen to country music, you're a hick. Like I hate to use that word, but like hick is the stereotype that comes to my brain. Um, and it's like
Side
that.
note.
Why is
Side note. I listened to country music yesterday. It was just an album. It wasn't even. I think it's even pop country. It's not like country. Like I listened to Casey Musgraves or whatever her name is, like Golden Hour. Like, but like it won best album in the Grammys like a couple years ago. I
so
can
like
get behind country music if it's like more popish, but I still can't understand it. But that also doesn't mean that I'm calling people hicks
no?
for listening to country music.
Honestly, having a best friend who used to take me to music like country music concerts was the greatest way for me to like get involved.
Yeah, I have really good friends that listen to country music, and I still
Yeah,
cannot find
and it's
my niche of country music that I like.
yeah, I haven't either. But I honestly there are some. I mean, I hate that we like do the human shit that we do to music where
I
we're like,
know. Like,
let's
just listen to it.
classify it and let's do this and let's do that.
Right.
Like
Who
what?
cares what genre that you listen to? Just like listen to it. And who cares if you're like 80 years old blasting Mayday Parade? What the hell does it matter?
Yeah. Yep.
These artists make music just to make music and for everyone to enjoy it.
I
I don't
feel
know
like
why.
we should just so okay, let's dive deeper into this, right? Like what is the foundational reason why everyone listens to music?
I don't know why entertainment came into mind first,
Okay.
but it's also something like deeper. It's a connection thing.
Right, like it's emotional, right? It's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So why do we like if that's the only thing that matters, right? Why don't we first and foremost like separate and organize music based on the way it makes us, well, I guess because that's more subjective than objective, but like separate it based on like the way the feel of it. No, but that's hard because
That's
everybody's
hard.
gonna feel it different. But I don't think I agree with that.
With
I
what?
don't
Wait.
think like I don't think I agree with myself, guys. I'm debating with myself right now. I was gonna say like everybody is gonna feel something different from what they're listening to. But I think that the only difference that we get is based off of lyrics, right? Like people interpret lyrics different, like they interpret words differently.
And I mean, I'll argue it's not just the lyrics too. It's the beat. It's also everything around it. The
But
composition.
let's go. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little like a little in this. We're gonna dig this deeper.
Go ahead. I was a music minor in college. Go for it.
Huh?
I was a music minor in college. Go for it.
I have this super innate belief. This is like more of like a spiritual thing than anything. We're gonna connect this to music. I have an innate belief that we are okay. So we've talked about this on prior episodes, right? Like we're all part of the same thing, right? There's the same thing of like that the universe, God has gifted to us and all of us, right? So I have a very strong belief that like music, right? Like that sense of I don't know what to relate it to, but that your sense of being musical, right? Or like having the ability to respond to music is something that we all like are given, right? It's a part of all of us. And then like the way that we're raised or like the way that our ego oversees that ability to be connected to it is what creates like how we feel about music. But it with that argument standing, right? And like lyrics out of the picture, couldn't there be an argument that like if you take lyrics out, you can say like music we have to have this conversation when my friend Andrew comes into the podcast because he's a music therapist, but these are questions we will ask in the future. We have upcoming guests. Future Chris, and I hope he listens to this and he's like, yes, I got this. Shouldn't we all be able to like if we organize music by saying this music right is about like this emotion and this music is about like this emotion.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that like help us not be like if you like this music, you're like this. And if you like
well, here's the thing though, right? Like classical music does that. There's no lyrics to that shit. Like you can feel something in like a sonata from like or you can feel anything from like a Mozart or a Bach or like, you know, Beethoven. Like and there's no lyrics there, but you know the emotion that they're
oh yeah.
like whatever. But then it also comes down to like in modern terms, when BTS started blowing up in America, everyone's like, "What? How do you understand this music? It's in Korean. Who gives a shit?" I've been listening to them since they were for like I don't know 5 years now or whatever, however long. And just because they became popular, all of a sudden now music is only what you should the music that you should listen to is only your tongue, like your mother tongue. Like
Mm.
it shouldn't be that way.
Mm.
Like it's not because like that was a whole thing on the internet was like which is why in my mind when I drive around with K-pop music blasting, I'm like someone's gonna judge me for listening to K-pop because like they're gonna be like you don't understand that shit, but like I do because you can feel it. Like it's not music is a universal thing. It doesn't have to be. You shouldn't listen to just the music that you understand lyrically. It should also be like everything in the composition, which also sorry now I'm going on a rant because I just woke up.
Wait, guys, Maria has arrived. I don't know if you can tell in the change of tone, but her body language is very different right now too.
Because the thing with me and music, right? I love music, and you know this. Like I played like 3 instruments my whole life, um, and so, and I used to be very judgy, obviously, of like the pop genre, just because it's like radio music. I'm just like, yeah, that's like not superior, if you will. Like the whole thing that we were just talking about, like
Mhm.
nothing's superior. Let's be real here. Music is music, but so Taylor Swift released her 2 albums recently, Folklore and Evermore, and I ranted and raved between like me and Kate, like we are just this is god tier shit. Like Taylor Swift like doing this music is so much better than like Taylor Swift doing her last 2 pop albums. Like
Oh
it
my
goes
god.
back to her roots, whatever. But
Mhm.
like in a more like indie way, not like a more country way. It's more indie folk now,
Mhm. Yeah.
which I adore. But people are like, it all sounds the same. And I'm like, I don't know if those people understand um the composition behind music and like how well thought out her songs are. And like not even just her, just like music in general. Like those people they listen to music for entertainment. That's what I'm trying to get at. Whereas I listen to the feeling of it. So there's like different elements of like listening to music. It's like, does this create some sort of, I don't know, dopamine serotonin for me? Or does this actually give me something more heavier? Is like
Yeah.
the difference between people listening to music, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, you just made the argument that's relevant to every performing art ever,
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
Like it's the same thing for dance, the same thing for the visual arts, right? Like people tell me all the time they'll we'll watch like a super
Movies I
mainstream.
could go off on too.
It's not honestly, you're right. Like it's any type of like art
Art.
that people get the ability to watch and like just opinion put their opinion into and like relate
Mm-hmm.
to. But like super mainstream with like ballet, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
performance ballet pieces that like the Nutcracker or like Swan Lake. People will be like, oh, it was like exactly the same. Like if you
Do they
don't
though?
read
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like if you strip out the story, right, people will be like, oh, the movements look very similar. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it just is you can only relate to something based off of the knowledge and experiences that you have that are relevant to it.
And also,
So
the way that you just said that, it makes sense that some people, well, a lot of people think that Taylor Swift's albums, her last 2, all sound the same because me and Kate have musical backgrounds. So like we
right,
can make those arguments that like
it
no, but
depends
like
on
the key change
have the
here is just
knowledge.
ridiculous. Like, the
Yeah,
chord progression here is just like insane, but all this stuff. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like you have that's why like I remember when I was in so I remember when I was in college.
Hmm.
I remember Dan having to take he took a dance appreciation class and thought like, oh, I'm gonna learn about dance. Like that's
Yeah.
like a he was interested in it too. Like he didn't just
Yeah.
do it because he was meeting me, but
Hmm.
like because he was coming to shows and he was like, I want to know something, like to be able to sit there and like talk about what you do.
Yeah.
And was it the best class ever? No. But like did it give people like those appreciation classes if they're done really well are meant to, give people the tools and resources to be able to do exactly what we're talking about, right? To be
Hmm.
able to have a greater connection, have a greater ability to relate to the art that they're taking in. And it's funny
Hmm.
now because like dance is blown up because of like TikTok and like social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
And it's like it's very I'm not gonna stand here and say that like TikTok's all about the depth of movement. It's super not. But um people can build their appreciation and understanding of like what like emotion movement evokes or what they're
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
and relating to be able to watch movement because now they're more exposed to it, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's like
Yeah. I also don't
listen,
want to like gatekeep the music that I listen to. Like sorry to
mm,
cut you off. I'm just
no, you're good.
because I know my thought is gonna just leave my
No, you're
brain
good.
if I don't say
Go
this.
for it.
Because like just going back to my friends that like don't understand the Taylor Swift albums just because it's my most recent memory in my brain. I wasn't making them listen to it in a different ear. I was just telling
Right.
them this is my interpretation of it.
Yeah.
I'm just raving about it. I really don't care if you like it or not. And that's with any music that I talk to with anyone. I'm just like,
You
I don't
guys
care
something
if you
like
listen to
that?
German rock. Like, I don't care. Like, because like that's you. That's how you intake your music and your emotional connection to music. Like, I don't care. Like, but then there are other this is the problem though. There are other people on the internet that like make fun of people for listening to that shit. I'm like, why? It doesn't affect you. Go listen to your EDM. I don't care.
Honestly, I love what you just said about Taylor Swift because I have been a no go Tay Swift since her last two albums came out. I was like,
Oh,
she
Reputation
totally,
and Lover, yeah.
yeah. Let me pull this back, right?
There are a couple
In
good songs
terms,
on those albums, but like
there are,
overall, whatever.
but in my mind, I was like, wow, like, I honestly, like, I hate that we use this in the art world. I hate that we use this in the art world, but again, it's a thing that we know. In my mind, I was like, oh my God, she totally sold out. I was like, this is
I
not
know,
the
isn't
Taylor
that is
Swift.
that the worst? Like because like that's just outside,
But
that's
it
what it
is
seems
like,
like,
okay,
but you don't know internally what's
again, let's
happening
talk.
business wise.
True. So that's a point I want to bring up. But also, let's talk about how like effed up the system is, right? That even has to be a thing that actually has to happen for people to be like successful in what they want to do and make an impact in
But
their.
also like it's Taylor Swift, right? I think she had an unfortunate reputation situation
Right. It
happen
was
in
relevant to
that
what was
sphere.
happening. Honestly, and
Yeah.
like, let's talk about like the strategies of music, right? Like, what ended up happening, and she got blown up by somebody who was very heavy in the area that she turned her music to. So like, there was probably a lot of strategy in that. And then she, like, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, she showed her versatility. Was it frustrating to like be somebody who really enjoyed her lyrics and like the way that she thought about her music and the way that she portrayed like her
Mm-hmm.
message? To see her do that, it was frustrating, but for her it made a lot of sense. And it
Mm-hmm.
was really smart because she pulled in a lot more people who were like into that really
Business
like
wise,
genre,
yes.
that
Yeah.
pop genre, to be fans of hers now. So now she can,
Right.
go, she can do whatever she wants, and she's got like Swifties, you know what I mean? Like, she's got people who are dedicated to her no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
because she went, that it was so
It's the
the
same
strategy was
thing.
genius.
It's the same thing with BTS because they started hip hop, pop, and now they're strictly pop, and I'm still following them because I
Yeah,
enjoy their message. It's the same thing with any big artist that has, and even
yeah.
small ones,
I
even
mean,
indie ones. Like you start as a fan, as obviously their sound, but then their messaging comes through, and then you
yeah.
just follow them no matter what genre that they dive
Yeah.
into. Is
And
what
let's
this
be
is.
honest,
Yeah.
when you're in any form of being an artist, at the bottom of it, right, you're telling some type of story. You're
Yeah.
sharing some type of message, right? You're just using different modalities to be able to do it. So, like, if you like the way someone tells a story, or the words that they use, or like the images they give you, or the feelings that they give you, like, you're going to, that's what you like. It's not like the way it's gift wrapped and give to you. Like, you don't really care about that. It's the
Hmm.
unwrapping it. And so I'm happy that you gave like that perspective on Tay Swift, because now I'm a little like, I am more open to going back and like listening to her stuff again.
Have you
But
listened to the last
Mayday,
two
let's be,
albums?
huh?
Sorry,
I
before
haven't.
you go to Mayday.
I so have not. I
Oh,
literally, my mental state was like,
oh, but it's
oh no,
so
I'm not
you
gonna do
have
this
to.
again. We're done
And
with it.
not that this is me, not that you don't have to, but like you should.
I know I will. I'm all down for it. But let's be honest, like, Mayday did the same thing with their music,
Oh yeah,
right? There is like
they
a
turned a
couple of
corner.
albums. Dan buys me like every one of their vinyls ever. He likes to give them to me. But there are a couple of their albums, even like their most recent album that came out. There's a couple songs on there I was like, uh
Sunny, what the hell is it
yeah,
called? Sunny something?
Sunnyland.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
had this conversation because I was texting
yeah.
you about it. These are the things that Maria and I will like randomly just have conversations about. Music is one of them, clearly.
Mhm, mhm,
um but it happens, and I mean, like, it's, I think the shitty thing and the
mhm,
honorable thing that happens when we look at people who become like these icons of sharing messages through any form of art or
mhm,
content.
mhm.
um the shitty thing is that we just rip them apart any given way, any way we possibly
Yeah,
want to. And the honorable thing is that they just stand there and usually just take
yeah,
it.
because like my the another artist that gets this shit is like Paramore. Like, where's the old Paramore?
Yeah.
I'm like, first of all, no.
First of all, can we talk about all these people that we're talking about and how long they've been around?
They're icons,
Like,
obviously.
Paramore is a perfect example of that.
And like, yes, they made um some weird songs I don't really like, but overall, I still enjoy their messaging.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, bring back the old Paramore. I'm like, whatever, go listen to their old albums then. I don't know what to tell you.
And
Or
honestly,
go find other artists that are like that now. Because that's also a thing that is so accessible now because Spotify is a thing and like, that's a free streaming service.
we're gonna go like super all over the spectrum of music right now, but do you listen to Logic?
Yes. His first album and a little bit of his second, but I didn't listen to his third. Right?
Dude,
Because he
okay,
has third one.
wait. Talk about Scrutinize for. Okay, let me say this first. If you don't want, how do you expect? Let's look at Paramore, right? They've been around for like almost what, 15, 16 years, longer than that?
Yeah, God, I don't.
Like
Sure.
not like mainstream, but like they've been around.
Oh my God, they've been around since the early 2000s. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Over the course of 20 years, how do you expect people, like especially creative people, especially artists, how do you expect them not to change? First of all,
Agreed. Because like that'd be so not. I don't know if dumb is the right word for them, but it'd be so dumb for them.
right? And like as a person, first of all, they would literally not be here and be able to survive if they didn't change. So that's like a not related to music, but related to music thing. And like you bring up such a good point. Like you have access to be able to listen to whatever you want to and like go back to your glory days and relive them for constant
AKA Brittany listened to Mayday Parade and me listen to hip hop and R&B from the 90s and 2000s. Like just go back.
A beautiful gift to be able to do that. So thank you, like music streaming
Internet.
services and
Yes.
technology.
Yes.
But like, how could you even ask that of anybody? At the, I don't remember where I was going.
See, I don't know either. Just brain's
My
gone.
brain just literally was like,
It shut off.
Nope.
Right. It was like like nothing.
Crap. What was guys?
Logic.
Oh, okay. Thank you. See, Maria passed out. I'm taking on her brain parts for her.
Yeah.
Sharing the load. His newest album. So I was never really somebody who really listened to Logic.
Do you listen to hip hop and R&B? Yeah, you do.
I do, but like I don't. When it comes to me listening to new music or like exploring new music, I go with the music that like I love the most, which is like rock music and like alternative rock music. So that's where I dive into like
you're not venturing off into the hip hop stream.
Right. Like, and I don't honestly like I wouldn't.
You don't even know where to start.
Like you said, like I wouldn't know enough to be able to be like, oh, this is what I'm gonna like. Like I know who to listen to. You know what I mean? Like I just don't have the knowledge. So
yeah.
Thankfully, I am marrying a man who literally has like the broadest spectrum of music preferences ever.
Nice.
So he was listening to Logic when we were in the car one day, and I was like, what is going on right now? Honestly, I didn't really have trust in Logic until I saw him on Rick and Morty. Did you watch Rick and Morty?
No, but I know he was on Rick and Morty.
Yeah, until I saw him on that episode of Rick and Morty, and I was like, I actually might like relate to this. Like if he relates to this show the way that he does, that he's portraying in the episode right now, like I probably would like his music. So I started listening to him, and when Dan got the new album, we were listening to it, and of course Dan was like, oh my God, like this is so fun, like you have to listen to this. It's like telling me about the lyrics, and he talks exactly about like in his new album what we're talking about right now, because his life went from like having nothing, struggling really hard, working through the industry, like having to build himself up, and then being successful. And like now he's like got a wife and a kid, and like he talks about like his life as an adult, like what it's like to be on the other side of that and just be making music, and like how his fans in his lyrics, this is like not stuff that I'm making up, that I'm interpreting, like he flat out says all of this, like talking about what his life is like now. And he's like, this is not exciting anymore, guys. Like I did it,
which is why he retired.
This is my life, right? And he's like, I have to deal with all of this crap being an adult, and like this is it now. Like
and like good for him for stepping away, right? Like I think
and Dan appreciates it more because like he grew with the artist, you know what I mean? Like he went through that struggle, but he brings on such a good point of like people struggle to find happiness, right? Like we talk about like what we work so hard thinking that when we get to the end of a journey, or when we like reach a goal, is when we're going to be happy. And like one of the things that he brings up is like the best parts of my life, or the shitty parts of when I was like fighting for shit. Like it sucked, but like having to go through like that was the exciting part of my life that I shared with you guys. And like I don't have like my life's not exciting now.
Yeah,
And like,
now he's just like, and good for him, right? For like retiring and being like aware of, all right,
right,
this isn't
like
making me happy.
talking about it, right? And saying like it's the pursuit of something that makes you happy. It's not the actual success of something that makes you
Literally,
happy, which is
literally.
like a big thing that I've been just like dealing like with myself, right? That and
Mhm.
that again, let's go back and talk about like, oh yay, we go through school for all these years to get a piece of paper and then you're done and you're like, oh, depression.
Then what? Yeah, that's
Right?
when
Like
everyone gets depressed.
like it's not the fact of reaching the goal at the end that what is what makes you happy. Happiness is in the pursuit of something that you're going after. Happiness is in the pursuit of whatever your personal success is. And I thought that he brought up a good point with all
Hmm.
of that. We talked about so much stuff today.
Yeah, I don't know where this went, but yeah, music. I don't know. Oh, it started with me ranting about busy season.
Yeah.
Um, Quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
Music. I don't know how we got to music though.
I was telling you, I was talking about
Mayday
my car
parade,
rides, worrying
car
about people
rides.
and being older.
I mean, we could go off about music. We'll table that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a literally. I think it's next month or like
Yeah,
March.
I
It's
saw
like
our
literally a
schedule.
month of music. Like we have all music guests coming in. So if you're a music person, like definitely come on, and listen. And if you have, I don't know, even if you want to come on in to the show and like talk about music or you
Guess we
make
can go
music
off.
or whatever, something, come talk to us. Like March, I think it's Music Madness in March.
Oh,
All I need
okay.
to watch is March Madness on basketball because I don't.
You know, it's funny. I don't watch March Madness. I
What?
don't watch. I don't watch college basketball. I watch NBA.
Oh, that's right. I feel like you always bring it up that it's on.
I do basketball?
I think
Probably.
it's usually related to does your dad watch it?
Yeah, my dad watches
Yeah,
it.
that's usually why. I was like, I know it's in there. I know there's a reason why we talk about it all the time.
I mean, yeah, sports basketball has been in my genetics.
Side note, so a lot of people are not going to like me saying this, but I'm really excited that football season's almost over.
Oh, you know, I could not this year I could not care less about football season. I don't know why.
I feel like people took two sides of it. They were either like even more invested in it because like
COVID and like there's
yep,
nothing else to do.
or they were like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, this year I was like, I really don't care for the Giants or the 49ers
Yeah, and I
this
feel like
year.
we won't get into a rant about football, but
About sports.
teams were like everything that happened this year. There was like no like basis of like what their stats were, and like everything was just all over and like so unpredictable. And all I
Even the
listened to
even even NBA right now, I do enjoy watching obviously basketball games on TV. And now that with their compressed schedule, it's like literally every other night there's a game, or even every night
yeah,
there's like a game, which kind of sucks for the players. I feel really bad because they're flying in and out because they
yeah.
are
Talk about
traveling,
like
obviously.
routine dismantling.
Yeah, but I feel like with COVID and the pandemic and like they are taking everything obviously seriously. The NBA is like if you are in contact with anyone outside of your team, like and your immediate family, like you're not playing for a week. Like that's great because like it's bringing down their COVID exposure, whatever. But stat wise, I don't even know if this is like this has to be like an asterisk in the history book. Like this whole season, this whole
Honestly,
sports
that's
cycle.
usually it for everything. Because even now in New Jersey, the like assessment, like what we use for student growth assessments for students, like
Mm-hmm.
the governor was just like, oh nope, we're not going to count them this year. Like 20,
Yeah,
30 years from now, we're going to look back and be like, see that little blip,
yeah.
that tiny little blip that
Forget
lasted
it.
for like
Don't look at it.
a year. We're just going to jump. We're just going to jump over it.
Because it's like, you know, again, back to the routine. Like, no one has a routine right now.
No.
Yes, there's a vaccine, but like, that's not the silver bullet that's gonna solve
And it's
everything.
the okay, let's talk. We'll end our episode with this. So,
Mm-hmm.
the girl that I was talking to about school
Mm-hmm.
was saying how like she's trying to figure out what she wants to do next. And she was like, I'm not taking any actual action because I feel like if I take an action, it's going to be an unsteady action because there's no foundation in the
That's
world
literally
right now.
every one of my closest friends right now.
Right. People are like, I don't want to take an action because like
Mhm.
there's no solid like solidarity for me to stand on.
But
And
even an inaction, a non-action is an action.
right, it's still a choice, right? Okay. So she was bringing that up and it was so funny because I was like, while she was talking about it, she was saying how she's taking this time to like see about all the potential, like really understand the options that she can take, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the steps that she can take and like try to work on herself and like do a lot of this is such a good time for personal stuff, guys. It really is. And
Yep.
she was talking about all of that. And like I was already seeing like projecting, I was like, what? And like 5 years from now, we're all gonna look back and be like the biggest things that people are going to look back on and be like, what did I do with this time? Like, what was the good stuff that I got out of this? Because it felt like a lot of bad stuff. So let me ask you this question, Maria.
Mm-hmm.
We're in this, I call it the swirlies. right? I'm
Okay.
calling this time the swirlies.
Okay.
It feels like the whole world is constantly in like that state of,
Spiraling.
or like the little thing where like you know how I don't even have a Mac. I don't know why I have this as a reference, but like you know how you like go to like load something on your Mac, you get like the little rainbow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that's our
The
lives. Like that's
buffer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, buffering, right? That's our world right now. Um, what like what do you think people should be doing with this time right now?
Ugh.
What's your thought on that?
Oh my god. I mean, learning about themselves, honestly. Like I think I've taken the time, and even not even no, this was even pre-COVID. I took some time to just like think and like sit with my thoughts. And like people have a lot more time to do that now than pre-COVID days. Um and like it sucks. It's uncomfortable to sit with yourself and your thoughts and your whole existence in your brain. Obviously, it's not the best course of actual mental health action. And to be honest with you, my therapist was like, "You probably shouldn't do that." I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably right." But
Because
for
there's no
people
one
that
overseeing how terrible you are to yourself.
yeah, there's like no accountability, like outside accountability. Like you're
Yeah,
just
or
like
positive
spiraling.
accountability.
Right. There's no yeah. So but I will say though, the times that I have done that, and I don't really do it much now because I'm more stable than I was before, but for someone that doesn't know how to do that to begin with is a good starting point into figuring out those like life questions like what am I doing next? So because there's more time to do that, I would recommend people to do that, even though it may suck, and then you're gonna go into spiraling. But then it'll something will jump out of you, and it'll only benefit someone at the end of it, because then you know yourself better afterwards.
Yeah, I agree with
That's
you.
all.
And I feel like we have you have two options the way that I look at it, right? It is I don't think that it's possible for you to go through your life without having like whether it's whatever name you want to add to it, whether it's like an existential crisis, a
Mhm.
midlife crisis, whatever crises, whatever you want to put before it, before having that, right? Before having to deal with your mental stuff, right? You have the choice to either do it for yourself and try to get ahead of it,
Mhm.
or to have something happen to you and then you don't have a choice. It's
Yeah,
either
an
that or you
external
don't live
factor.
anymore,
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
right?
And
Like you have a choice.
yeah,
And within those choices, you get to either do it at the start of your life or at some point, honestly, at every day that you wake up is the start of your life, right? It's the start of the rest of your life. So you either get to do it, right? Or you do it at the end when you don't know that you're going to have another day to start
mhm,
all over again.
mhm,
And those are
mhm.
the choices that you make within it. And then another thing, like a third level that we don't normally get, right? COVID has given you the chance to either, for a lot of us, it's brought up a lot of different pauses in our lives for whatever reason at any other time through any of this last year. You can either choose to do it and be ahead of it when there's a pause, right? Where you maybe don't have some of the pressures that you would normally deal with, or like life is a little bit different and you maybe have, maybe not necessarily time, but like maybe more headspace. Like you can.
Yeah, I mean, time. There's still 24 hours in a day, right? Like you still
Right.
have shit to do. Yeah,
Right.
I think it's the headspace.
It
It's
might be more the headspace thing.
yeah,
Or you can do it like on the other side when you don't have a choice and you have to deal with it and you still have all the other crap that you have going on in your life and it's stressing you out.
and that's
So,
the worst because like I would not recommend that.
right.
That's
Like, guys, okay, so Maria, like, definitely want to hear you speak to this. I had to deal with it after having a crisis,
Mhm.
being in a place where like if I didn't make a decision, like I can't say that I would like still be here, which is like not a fun thing to say.
It's not a fun thing to say,
No,
but
but
yeah.
it is like it's honestly like a real truth that like needs to be said because I don't think a lot of people
Oh, the
know
amount
that,
of
you know?
the amount of times that I
Um,
didn't think I would be here right now.
right. Like I had to do it after that, which made it harder to do. I had to
Yeah.
do it when there wasn't like a pause. Like I didn't have a pause. I still had to deal with everything in my life. The only positive thing about it was that I made a decision younger, right? It was
Yeah,
honestly
yeah.
I
Yeah.
did make a decision, but like it was really pushed on me that I didn't really have much of a choice other than
Mm.
making that decision because I wasn't in a place where I was the positive thing was my desire to live
Outweighed.
was
Yeah.
higher than my fear of doing the work.
Yeah, and I think I can say that too. I think I also can add that it helps that there are people around you also constantly making that decision as well, that you can see
Mm.
their resilience in it too, that you're all in it together, is kind of like the whole situation where it's like, yes, this sucks, and yes, I kind of want to not want to be here anymore, but also there are other people around me that are rooting for me too to like
Yeah.
make that decision, because they can't make that decision for you. That's
No.
also
Yeah.
like external validation from other people and like your close friends and family is nice, but also you have to make that cognitive decision to
Yeah.
do it.
It only goes so long. That's like another thing that contributes to dealing with stuff. But and you make such a good point. Like you might have to find those people.
And when you do, it's really worth it to keep them around. Like
Yeah.
just keep them around. Like you also, the struggle in your 20s is finding out that the people that you grew up with aren't the people that you want to be around with.
Yeah.
There are obviously some, obviously this us too, like there are obviously some
Yeah. We
exceptions.
were
Not
very
it's not
fortunate.
like we're very fortunate for this obviously, but um there are other people that you grew up with in the school system, like you, it was just kind of convenience that you saw them 5 days a week, not them
Yeah.
being actual friends, you know.
Yeah. And honestly, it
um
could be people in even closer. Like it could be family. It could be people you live with. It could,
mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
yeah, being proximity is everything. And there's a saying that like if you want to look at the person that you're going to be in the future, look at the five closest people that you spend your time with.
And honestly, I think that's the truth.
It
I
is.
think if you find your five closest friends, family members, whoever the five closest people are around you, and you see their values and their personalities and like how they deal with shit, that's usually a reflection on how
Yeah.
you're also dealing with shit too.
Which is so funny because have you seen those Geico commercials where it's like the guy is like all those crazy commercials where the guy is like
Yeah.
showing the people like becoming their parents,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like how we all have a fear of like becoming our parents. Like it's not because it's your DNA, guys. Like your DNA, the only thing at the end of the day that your DNA determines is your overall like physical well-being, right? And like
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little bit of your mental health. But I'm a big believer that it's more of a nurture over nature thing that makes you the person you are. So
Mm-hmm.
like you're not those people in those commercials aren't becoming their parents just because like they're like in like their
Innate
greater
nature is
greater
like, yeah,
power saying like that's what happens to you, right?
yeah,
Nature
yeah,
is making that happen to them. It's we spend a lot of time with those people, right?
yeah, exactly,
So
absolutely.
like you're gonna a lot of like there are things about the way that I look that I got from my parents that I'm not gonna be able to change unless I get plastic surgery. But um like it's not your personality, the way that you handle things, like Maria just said, that is a taught thing. That's a nurture thing. Like so whoever you spend your time with, that's who you're going to become. And that's I hope
Eh,
that like maybe Maria and I can be like the people, not like you become like us because that's not the point, but like if you're looking for those people, if you're looking for people that help you in any way, shape, or form, that like that's like literally our podcast, right? Like be more like
mm-hmm.
to do that. Maria hates when I get corny, guys. I'm gonna get corny right now.
It's okay.
Like hopefully we can. That's why we started this. Like
Yeah,
hopefully we can be that.
yeah. It's yeah. I mean, it all boils down to connection, I think.
Yep, which we talked about so much in the last episode too.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I don't know where this went, but to
Yeah, I
close
was gonna
this,
end it with that idea of like,
to
so
to
what can you
close,
do for this? What can you do in this time? Listen to blast the music that you like
yeah,
in the car really loud. Talk to the people who make you feel good about yourself, and and like help you to be the best person that you want to be, and take that person into this year.
yeah. I was gonna say I was gonna close out with to the people that are checking up on me during busy season. I appreciate it um greatly. This is what this goes full circle into the first like 5 minutes of our podcast.
Amazing.
Um, because and also check up on your friends too, just in general. I feel like that's also a thing. Like, um,
You're
because
not responsible for them, but
yes, the
still.
thing with connections is yes, it's great to check up on people, but also hold them accountable if they are making a decision or not, and hold them accountable if they're making life choices and all that shit. But yeah. Lastly, also shout out to Ashley for keeping me in check this week,
Woo.
because I don't even know where my brain was this week because of work and shit. So again, this just boils down to check up on your friends. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right, bye.
for real. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this. episode,
This
whatever it was.
shit show of a
Maria
storm.
has now
Because like,
given me the responsibility of naming our episodes because we do this kind of stuff now. So
yeah, because I, especially this time of year, because I have no brain capacity.
Yeah.
So thank you for this.
Thank you guys so
Yeah.
much for tuning in and hanging out with us. We have, oh, next week, our guest is the person who has known me my entire life, and it's
I'll
not my
say
mother or father.
yes.
My
I forgot. But yes, I remember.
childhood best friend is going to be on. Guys, I hate using the word best friend, but one of my best friends. I consider
Really?
like Maria like as one of my best friends. Like I have
Yeah.
a solid amount of good best. I have a lot of friends. They're all best. They're all the best. That's what I'm gonna start saying.
Yes.
Who is joining us next week? So you're gonna hear a lot of stories. Oh boy, you're gonna hear a lot of stories. I'm just realizing that now. You're gonna hear a lot of stories, and you're gonna hear about the awesome things that she does and what she's passionate about. And I'm excited she's joining us because I love when all like my friends come together. It's always so fun and beautiful to watch. So join us for that next week, and we will see you then.
Okay, bye.